In this video, I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step guide of how to make a multi-rig, what components you'll need, and I'm even going to break down the measurements for every part of this rig so you can replicate it yourself. So in a second, hit that pause button, take a screenshot, then watch the rest of the video. So our first job is to measure out and cut off 30 centimeters of your coated braid. So the section in the stripping tool, that is 11 centimeters exactly. And now we can pull the other end of our braid, and as we pull it through nice and steady, that will remove the coating, leaving the clean braid underneath. As you can see here, that's where the coating now continues. Now from the strip section, fold it in half and make sure that you leave just a couple of mil at the very bottom where it overlaps the coated section of the braid. So to create the figure of 8 knot, all we have to do is pinch down just at the end here, pass the line back on itself to create a loop, take that loop and twist it 180 degrees, and then pass this small tag back through both holes. Now you have to make sure it definitely goes through, and it can be a little bit easier to do that with a baited needle. Now it's really important that we moisten this down, and before we tighten the knot, what we're going to do is with our thumb and forefinger, pull the knot down towards the coated section of the braid as much as we can. Pull it down, tighten it up, and that's given us just a few mil, maybe 10 mil there between the knot and the end of the coating. Get your knot puller, get the loop that you've just created, pop it in there. Again, make sure you've moistened this down first and just give that a little tug just to nip it down. The next job is to cut yourself 13 mil of 2 mil shrink tube. 2 to 3 mil will work absolutely perfectly. The next job is to pass your loop through the eye of the hook so that it comes out the back. Now we're going to thread on our bait screw, and if you don't like using bait screws, you can of course use a micro ring swivel. All we have to do is pass this loop through the tiny ring on the bottom of your bait screw. Now to create the D and make sure that our bait screw doesn't fall off, all we have to do is pass that loop of our braid over your hook, back round underneath until it comes around the top. And then you've got something that acts a little bit like this, and we're going to make some adjustments to this in a second. Cut yourself 13 mil of 2 to 3 mil diameter shrink tube. Slide it over the coated section of the tag end of your braid, all the way down, over the small figure of 8 knot, and over the eye of the hook. Now you can wiggle that on just a few mil, that's all it needs, and you'll notice that now creates resistance for the D, and that section you can adjust to your liking. Now I normally have it just opposite the barb as shown. Now slide yourself on an anti-tangle sleeve, and it's really important to remember to make sure that you pass your hook link through the small pointy end so that it comes out the fatter end at the top. If you want to make rigs that are consistent in length, then it's really important to use a ruler. I do most of mine by eyeballing it, but if you're new to this can be really helpful, and hopefully if you've followed each step and you've used the guide, you'll end up with rigs that come out exactly the same length every single time. Now we need to create a figure of 8 loop at the end of this braid, so I'm going to go down 5.5 centimeters, pinch with my thumb and forefinger, and I'm going to fold that just across on itself at that point. So I've now got 5.5 centimeters folded back on itself. One final step is to create another figure of 8 loop in this end so you can attach your quick links. So again, loop, pinch, twist to create a small opening, pass your tag end through, and there you go, that's your second figure of 8. And again, don't forget to moisten this down first. Now we're going to use our knot pullers to just test our knots and tighten everything down nice and tight. And when you tighten knots on this rig, never use your knot puller on the hook, always pass it through the loop of the D, because otherwise all you're going to do is pull the hook link down to the eye of the hook. So give this a little tug, nice and steady, don't need to be ripping it apart, but nice even pressure just to make sure that's all snug down. Trim off our tag ends, that's one, and this is the second one. Slide up your anti-tangle sleeve, take a piece of tungsten putty. This small piece here is probably smaller than a small pea, you really don't need a lot. I then find it a little bit easier to roll it into a very loose sausage shape because I find that's easier then to pop around your knot. Now we can push the putty over the knot, fold it over, and then with our thumb and forefinger, it's just a case of rolling that back and forth to make sure it's over your knot, it's nice and firm, and it's nice and smooth. Once you're done rolling your putty around your knot, you should have something that ends up looking a little bit like this. So there it is, that's our completed rig, all finished, ready to go. We've got our anti-tangle sleeve down the other end, and you may have noticed when I steam this down, I've just given that a tiny little kick over, and I also steam the hook link as well, just to make sure that's nice and straight. So if you found this helpful, please hit follow, tag a few mates, leave me a comment, let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks for watching Sightlines.